I'd like to call this meeting back to order. May I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Fritz,
Here.
Mrs. Galnick,
Here.
Mr. Gibbons. Here. Mrs. Gilch,
Here.
Ms. Gore,
Here.
Mrs. Johnson,
Here.
Ms. O'Donnell,
Here.
Ms. Dentino, Mr. Marks.
Here. At this time, we'll move on to 3.0 star students. Mr. Bilodeau?
Gentlemen, good evening.
First time, I understand.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Marks, members of the board, members of the public. It's good to be back at AML Middle School, and it is good to renew our recognition of some of our great students here in Gloucester Township. So as we have done certainly last year, and we will continue, Mr. Tro, our Assistant Superintendent, will kind of facilitate our star students. So Mr. Tro, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Bilodeau, board, public. This is an exciting time for us as we get an opportunity to recognize students and some of the staff members that lead those students in some excellent activities. So often all we ever hear about in the newspapers, television, and so forth are the negative things that take place in school. And this is a great opportunity for us to recognize students for a lot of the great things that they do each and every day in our schools. So we're going to recognize some students from Ariel Elementary School and Ann Mullins Middle School tonight. So we'll begin by recognizing our Ariel Elementary School students that are here. I will turn the microphone over. I've got their certificates here. I'll give those to your administrators and your whoever's leading you here tonight. They'll pass out your certificate. It's in recognition of your work here from our Board of Education and Mr. Bilodeau. They'll call you up, and then when we're finished, we will take a short recess, take some photos, and then reconvene for the regular business portion of the meeting. Mr. Shields.
Thank you, Mr. Tro. Good evening, Mr. Bilodeau. Good evening, Gloucester Township Board of Education. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming this evening. Tonight, we are recognizing our Men of Distinction Club. This is facilitated by Mr. Miller. This has been at Ariel. This is a club that has been run by Mr. Miller for quite some time. I believe that Mr. Ferguson had started it when he was the assistant principal there. It might even go back a little bit before then, but I'm going to let Mr. Miller kind of explain what his club is all about. But we have a great group of boys with us tonight. We have 7 young men that are Ariel students that we even have one of our old members of our Men of Distinction Club, who's now a 5th grader. So these are all 4th grade boys who meet with Mr. Miller weekly, and Mr. Miller can explain a little bit more. But right now, I'd like to welcome up Mr. Miller and the Men of Distinction Club. Come on up, boys. Come on, Mr. Miller. I'm going to let Mr. Miller take over the mic, and then we will hand out your certificates when we're all done. Boys, I'm going to move over. Why don't you guys slide this way a little bit? There you go.
Good evening, Mr. Bilodeau, Mr. Tro, school members, teachers, parents, and students. My name is Mr. Miller, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce you to the Men of Distinction of Ariel Elementary School. Before I introduce them individually, let me give you a brief description of what it means to be a Men of Distinction. The Men of Distinction is a group of 4th grade boys that are handpicked by Mr. Shields, Mr. Carmichael, our guidance counselor, Miss Rubin, and myself. These select boys and I meet after school on Wednesdays to discuss what is expected of young men growing up today. We discuss manners, responsibilities, friendship, and what it means to be a good example to the rest of the school. We discuss any problems we had and give ideas of what the best way to handle these problems. We also meet for lunch once a week to check in and see if we need any help or encouragement for each other. And also once a week, we have a formal day, which was today, where all the boys wear ties to look good and show the other teachers who these select boys are. And now let me introduce my boys. I've got Braden Beckett, Braylon Beckett. Yeah, they're brothers. Aiden Hall. Case Harmon. Ryan Mills. Carlton Scott. And Jay Sias. Boys, I'm very proud of you. Thank you to everyone, especially Mr. Shields and Mr. Carmichael, who've supported this group and supported myself. So thank you.
Great job, boys. Thank you. At this time, I'm going to turn the microphone over to our principal from Ann Mullen Middle School, Miss Angela Rosebounds.
Thank you, Mr. Stroh. Oh, thank you. And thank you, board, for this opportunity. I'm going to ask Mr. Albano and Mr. Michael Curtis, Frank Albano and Mike Curtis to join me up here. These are the advisors of our horticultural club. And as you come up, will the members of the Mullen Horticultural Club please come up and join us as well? I'll read. They do have names on them, okay. And I'm going to share with you some information as I nominated the Mullen Horticultural Club. It says, I'd like to nominate the Mullen School Horticultural Club for the Star Student Recognition due to the outstanding contributions to both the school and community through their innovative and impactful projects. Their initiatives not only beautify the school, but also provide meaningful learning opportunity for students of all ages. The club has launched a Harvest of the Moon program where members highlight a seasonal harvest and teach students how to grow, harvest, and utilize these crops. They also engage students with hands-on activities, including taste tests, to deepen their understanding of the food cycle. In an exciting addition, staff members are invited to contribute by sharing family recipes or creating a wonderful connection between students, food, and cultural traditions. The club is also transforming the teacher courtyard by creating a welcoming lunch area for staff. By repurposing tables and beautifying the space, the Horticultural Club is fostering a sense of community and providing a tranquil area for teachers to enjoy. We know they need tranquility. One of the most exciting projects is the Pumpkin Patch experience for preschoolers. Club members visited the preschool classroom and read stories about fall. It was followed by an outdoor activity where the preschoolers picked their own pumpkins. This fun and educational experience, arranged by the teachers with a local farm, happened this October, last week as a matter of fact, and it demonstrated the club's proactive planning and commitment to creating lasting memories for the younger students. Additionally, the club is taking the lead in planting mums around the school and in the newly created teacher courtyard. Their attention to seasonal details and beautification of the campus of our school is a clear reflection of their dedication to making Mullen School a more vibrant and welcoming place. The Mullen School Horticultural Club's efforts are not only enriching to school environment, but also promote collaboration across grade levels and staff. Their hard work and creativity deserves to be recognized as it exemplifies the spirit of service and learning. So thank you to Mr. Curtis, Mr. Albano, and the Horticultural Club for your efforts.
And with that, let's introduce our students. They are also experts at making peach cobbler. We made bruschetta, and in 2 weeks, we'll be making pumpkin bread. So if you're ever interested, swing on in. We would love to have you guys be a part of our club. So with that, here we go. Our first student, Ezra Echevera. I'm a math teacher, by the way, not ELA. Echeverria. I'm terrible at this. I can't even hold them. I will give them to you like. Oh yeah, that's my girl. Isabel Pettit, home, or Frenchie on the soccer field. Zoe Echeverria. Echeverria. I need to just pass it. Yes, they are siblings too. She's also my student, but I got the first name down, not the last name. That one I got. Elena DeWitt. Congratulations. Gianna
Mignano.
Mignana. You are welcome.
No, we have several more. We have several other students that were unable to make it tonight that are also part of our club. In the springtime, we will be doing our greenhouse where the students will be planting seeds for flowers for Mother's Day and vegetables. And we sell them to the students, the faculty, the community, and the kids really enjoyed that. So thank you all for your support throughout the year.
Thank you.
So thank you once again. That will conclude our star student portion. At this time, we will take a short recess for about 5 to 10 minutes.
Joe, could I interrupt you?
You want to do your piece
I
first?
actually wanted to do one piece. Could we ask Mrs. Rosebounds to come back up? And could we also ask Mr. Owens to join her? Andrew Owens is an instrumental music teacher here at Ann Mullen School. And Mr. Owens, I wish I was much better ad hoc shooting from the hip. But I will just read to everyone assembled here what I wrote to the board about a week ago, because I think you should be recognized. So with that, please report that Andrew Owens, instrumental music teacher at Ann A. Mullen Middle School, has been selected to be the conductor for the All South Jersey Band. Mr. Owens, yeah, that's great. Mr. Owens has been a music teacher for Gloucester Township Public Schools for 20 years, September 1st, 2004, Andy, if you forgot. I came 3 days later, 2 days, sorry. This honor has been bestowed to Mr. Owens from the South Jersey Band and Orchestra Directors Association. This association has been in existence since 1946, has been presenting concert ever since. Annually, there are between 70 to 80 students that are selected from approximately 60 neighboring South Jersey middle schools, including our 3 middle schools here in Gloucester Township, to represent the All South Jersey Band. Mr. Owens is a very dedicated professional and is most deserving of this honor. Mr. Owens. So if you could get me a couple free tickets, Mr. Owens, to the concert, I would gladly like to see how you, how your students do. So congratulations, well deserved. Thank you. All right, Mr. Trove.
Now we will go to the portion where we'll take a short break. We have some refreshments over here. I know I heard a few of the boys were looking for cookies tonight. There are some cookies over there for you boys. Make sure you hit those first. But then we also have pictures in the back for all of our star students, Mr. Owens. And after we take that 5 to 10 minute break, we'll resume the regular business portion of the meeting. And you're welcome to stay for that if you'd like, but also if you need to go out, we understand that you might have other things to take care of this evening. So thanks again for coming out.
Call this meeting back to order. May I have a motion and a second for executive session, September 23rd, 2024?
So moved.
Second, please. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Fritz,
Abstain.
Mrs. Galnick,
Abstain.
Mr. Gibbons,
Yes.
Mrs. Gilch,
Yes.
Ms. Gore,
Abstain.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. O'Donnell,
Yes.
Ms. Dentino,
Yes.
Mr. Marks.
Yes. May I have a motion and a second for regular board minutes?
So moved.
23rd, 2024?
So moved. Second.
I have a couple changes for that.
Please.
Mrs. O'Donnell was a no to 6.3, policy 0168. And policy 6.6G should be 2963. And also on there was a check number that she voted on item 7, not on item 6. Other than that, it's fine.
Mrs. Johnson, do you want to make the motion as amended?
I'd like to make a motion to as amended, please.
Second.
Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Fritz,
Abstain.
Mrs. Galnick,
Abstain.
Mr. Gibbons,
Yes.
Mrs. Gilch,
Yes.
Ms. Gore,
Abstain.
Mrs. Johnson,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Donnell,
Yes.
Ms. Dentino,
Yes.
Mr. Marks.
Yes. We'll move on to 4.3, public comments, agenda action items only. No, you have it down here.
You're right.
No, that'll be the second portion. Yeah, please. Dana, you'll be second. Name, please.
Taylor Burt. I'm a resident of Laurel Springs and a preschool teacher at Glen Landing. I would just like to extend our appreciation for the goal to explore options for a dedicated preschool building from the whole preschool team. For 6 years, 5 of which I've been a part of, we have worked day and night to make this program the best it can be. However, we have constant obstacles due to our program being housed in facilities that weren't built for preschool. Some of our obstacles include our outdoor space for gross motor time and sharing a common bathroom, which can be loud, crowded, and overstimulating. We have worked hard to overcome these obstacles and make the best of it with the facilities that we have available to us. Though many think we play in preschool, there are many studies that show how beneficial a quality preschool program can be for children. A study in Montreal, Canada found that preschool programs result in improvement in non-cognitive skills like social emotional skills that persist throughout the life of a child, resulting in more employment, higher earnings, and reduced criminality. With a preschool building, we could collaborate with our colleagues, have less transitions, and a decrease in behaviors that are triggered by long walks to the playground and the bathroom, more support from our support team due to the lack of travel time that they would need. And the best reason for a building is that it would allow for all of our preschool age children to that reside in Gloucester Township to benefit from our amazing program. So again, we just want to thank the board for creating this goal and hopefully approving it and working with us to better our program, because we are very excited to be here and we hope you are too. So thank you.
Thank you for your hard work.
Thank you.
Ms. Hendry.
Good evening, Dina Hendry, Sommerdale. Under 6.3B is in boy, can you explain what the areas entail? Like instruction and program, fiscal management, governance, operations, and personnel?
I can,
Let me help you with this.
well, first of all, CUSAC is kind of essentially a state monitoring, and they break it down. It's kind of like a state audit of different functional areas, as you just explained. You have to, under the state CUSAC regulations, achieve a passing score of 80 or better. So in 4 of the 5 elements, the district has passed it, and there are just an array of different things that are embedded in each one of those items, Ms. Hendry. It would be a very, very long answer from the superintendent to tell you, but there are literally teams of people that are in charge as we break this down to prepare for the CUSAC event. And this is a score that is similar to what we have gotten in the past. I think that the points, Mr. Tro might be better at explaining, but the points that we need to obtain for instruction and program are embedded in the detail of this test scores from the spring assessment. And then it gets even further broken down into subgroups. And so it is essentially an audit by the state. It is rather complex. There's an awful lot of material we provided the state. And this happened about a year ago when we just received the results.
So the instruction and program is solely on test scores of the children?
It's not solely on the test scores of the children. There are an awful lot of things that we must also, by illustration, the state has a curriculum, and they test whether the curriculum they state a public school district has, are we following what they say we have? There are points for that. In every one of those instances, in that example, if there was a value of 10, this district got a 10 for that. And there's more and more to get that composite of 71. I don't know if I'm answering your question, but
Yeah,
it's not, but the test scores are a component. I believe it's 40%, 60% of the.
50%, so it's
It's 60%.
60%,
Mr. Trout.
60%.
It's
Go ahead, Tim.
it's 50% test scores. It's 10% for reading, 10% for math, 10% for reading progress, which is MSGP scores that the district gets, and then 10% for math progress, and then 10% for science. And then the last 10% is for attendance, is that, and then the next 40 points are for all of our paperwork essentially, or all of our curriculum and documents up to the state standard and for what they tell us that we need to have. And what Mr. Bilodeau was saying, we scored all 40 points for the things that we could directly control, meaning all of our documents and all of our curriculum being aligned to the state standards. And then where we lost points were for test scores, some of which we'll talk about tonight in my presentation.
What was last year's score? Do you know off the top of your head?
The last time we were actually scored, we did get 80 points. The science test at the time, scores were much higher on that. And so we got those points, and then our ELA and math scores were a little bit higher just pre-COVID. And so we were able to squeak in, and I think we had like 80.6, and we did pass the QSAC the last time around.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? I see none. We're going to move on to the report of solicitor, Mr. Lund.
My items were discussed in executive session, Mr.
Thank
Marks.
you. Report of superintendent, Mr. Bilodeau.
Thank you, Mr. Marks. Tonight, under item 6.1, Mr. Tro is here. It is a requirement to report on how our students did in relation to last spring's state assessment. So, Mr. Tro, I know that you are prepared. Do you want to take over from here?
Sure, I'll take over, and I'm a little bit intimidated. You know, I can see that people have heard about me, and you have a big clock right there in front of me, kind of reminding me how long I'm talking, and that I'm supposed to keep this short. So I'll try to be as brief and as thorough as I can be. There's a lot to go through, and I apologize. To some degree, I will go through quite quickly, because in some ways you either spend 45 minutes to an hour looking at it, or you spend 5 or 10 minutes. So I'm going to try to keep it to 5 or 10 minutes and move through quickly. The board has a full copy of this. I believe we have it ready to be posted hopefully tomorrow. It'll be on the website. There are some notes copies back there in the back for some of you. I know they weren't necessarily out there when you came in, but if you want to grab one either on your way out or sneak over there, you can do that as well. And so again, good segue. This is these scores and the things we're going to talk about are a major part of our QSAC score. And we do have some work to be done, but I am really proud overall of the progress that we're making and the efforts that we're doing. And we are seeing some fruit to those. And we've got some, and I'll talk a little bit about some of the things we have planned to continue to help those. Let me turn this on. So again, current district initiatives, we've got quite a bit going on in ELA. We've got training for staff to understand the science of reading. You may have heard a lot about that in the news and so forth. We have a pilot in 2nd grade, as well as 6th to 8th grade implementation of new core materials that are going to hopefully align particular grades second grade and up with consistent materials for students that will hopefully help them see those same patterns and routines and develop their ELA scores. And ELA achievement. Math, we've got, we're continuing to work with our current materials. Grades 6 to 8 have been doing a lot of work with building thinking classrooms where they're using the same materials, but hopefully using them better. And I've been in to see a lot of that. And it's pretty impressive, some of the things that the students are doing, working collaboratively. We are in the process of reviewing our 6th to 8th grade science curriculum. I think part of when we look at the scores, we'll see why. I think it is time that we really dig in to that. And I'll explain a little bit more when we get to that. And we're also trying to improve our overall multi-tiered systems of support from K to 8 to make sure that we are doing a better job of addressing all of our students' academic, social, emotional, and behavior needs as we go through. New Jersey, this was our 8th administration. Hard to believe. We took 2 years off during COVID. So really it's been about 10 years that the state's been using this assessment. This was the 8th time overall and the 3rd complete battery since 2019. Students take the tests in ELA and math in grades 3 to 8, and then they take science in grades 5 and 8. If you remember, there's kind of 3 things we try to look at. Sometimes data can be a little bit overwhelming, and we're going to look at proficiency, just overall, what are the pass rates? Then we also look at progress. How are we doing compared to ourselves? And then how are we doing compared to others, where we look at relative performance. And so those are 3 ways that we can try to triangulate our data. For ELA and math, there's 5 achievement levels. Quite simply put, levels 4 and 5 are considered proficient. I'm going to click through these pretty quickly. Again, this is where we can really get bogged down, but these bar graphs sort of give you a little bit of an idea of how our students did in each of the grade levels and subject areas. The first one is 3rd grade ELA. We did have 2 schools that were able to beat state average. The yellow in each slide is the state average. The kind of maroonish color is the district average. And so we had, you can see there was a range. And those are things that we're digging into with our principals and our staff to look at what we can do to address that. But that's what you can see as we go through. Ariel, Union Valley, shout out to you, beating the state average. In grade 4 ELA, we had Loring Fleming, Glendora, and Gloucester Township Elementary beat the state average. And as a district, we were getting closer and inching up to that state average. Typically, South Jersey schools, the state average tends to be bolstered by the schools up north. And I've got some slides later that give a little bit of that indication of where things are in South Jersey. Grade 5 ELA, a little bit lower, but we were able, Glendora Elementary School was able to beat the state average. 6th grade ELA was one of the areas where we persistently, as we continue to look at that, have that bit of a dip as the kids transition to 6th grade. And I know it's something we talk about frequently at administrative meetings and with our staff as well. Glen Landing was close to the state average, our highest in the district. And then grade 7 is a grade level where we've done quite well. 2 of the 3 middle schools beat the state average, Lewis Middle School, Glen Landing Middle School. And our district average was just below that. And then 8th grade ELA, again, Glen Landing was near the state average. And overall did pretty well there across the board in 8th grade. Math, again, similarly, we had 3 elementary schools that were able to beat the state average in math. And our district average wasn't too far below that. Union Valley, Glendora, and Ariel were able to beat the state average. 4th grade math, we had 1 school and then Union Valley was close, that matched the state average, but nobody actually beat it. At Glendora and Union Valley were equaled and were close. District average was a little bit lower. So you can see, again, one of the things I put on here is kind of building that consistency, where 3rd grade did quite well. 4th grade, obviously these are different students, but as a district, we were a bit below the state average. And then 5th grade, rebounding back a little bit more, Loring Fleming and Union Valley being above the state average. 6th grade math, again, dip similar to reading. So there's a bit of a pattern there that we're going to continue to dig into here and try to solve for a little bit of a drop off when students come to 6th grade and make that transition to middle school, which I know can be hard for them, but most schools across the state are similar. And so we don't want to necessarily just use the transition as the only reason for that. 7th grade math, again, Lewis and Glen Landing close to the state average. And then 8th grade math, Glen Landing did quite a bit over the state average, and our others weren't too far behind the district average, but Glen Landing was certainly our highest rate there. And then algebra, pretty consistent across the board, right around 90% pass rates in algebra. So that, again, it's hard to get some perspective. That's one of the reasons I flipped through that so quickly, because there's just numbers compared to state and district averages. These are some things that show some trends. And so I'll try to go through these. There's a lot of detail down there when you get a chance to look at one of these up close, whether you grab one over there or you go back and check it online. I've got all of the scores going back to the first test. And you can, again, see where grades 3 to 5, we had done a lot of work pre-pandemic, gotten up where we were very close to state average. Pandemic, we dropped significantly. The rest of the state did as well, but we dropped more than the state average, and we're slowly trying to climb our way back. This was a great year for us. We had a 3.4% increase district-wide, whereas the state average stayed flat. So we are making some ground and making some headway, digging our way back to that state average and hopefully beyond. 6th to 8th grade ELA, again, nice progress and definitely beating the state average. The state actually dipped a little bit and we went up 2.2%. So really strong year for us ELA wise. And then this kind of shows when you look at the whole district, as well as those other two bands that I just showed you previously. Grades 3 to 5 math. You can see last year was a great year for us. We really closed that gap. This year was just a little bit more of an even year, just a slight increase. But of course, we're always happy with any increase. But we did have a slight increase this year, not as significant as last year. But you can see our overall trend over the last couple of years is up significantly. Grades 6 to 8 math. Last year was a little bit more flat for them, but a more significant increase this year of 2.4% increase in our pass rate. And again, the chart that ends up being a bunch of wire or lines overlapping each other, but you can see some progress made there over the course of the last couple of years, increasing student performance. Subgroup wise, again, a lot of data there, but you can take a look at that. This just shows how each of our subgroups does by race, gender, ethnicity, race, economic status, as well as students with disabilities and our Ls. You can see what I would just kind of point out here is the change, a lot of green. The green means we had an increase. And so what you can see is nearly all of our subgroups had a fairly significant increase in their ELA scores year over year. I've also got the 22 and the 23 scores there. So you can again see that they are all of them trending up. Even if you look at the 2-year numbers, all of them are up. Some of them are only up the most recent year. And then math, very similar. While the gains were a little bit more modest, we actually almost had more, we did have more of them in the green that were increased. So our improvements in scores aren't just in one group over another. It's pretty consistent across the board. And so that shows that, we are making progress in each of those subgroups, while we do still have some significant disparities that kind of follow a lot of the national averages, particularly with economic disadvantaged, as well as some of our, race and ethnicity pieces and with students with disabilities. This is a chart I do every year. This is actually looking back 2 years to 2023. We don't get this data till a little bit later, but this shows some of the trend lines, and it shows that there is a correlation to free and reduced lunch status. So sometimes when you're comparing district to district, you're not always comparing apples to apples. And so that's what this intends to do a little bit. However, it does show that 2 years ago anyway with those scores, and we're hoping that this year with our nearly 4% increase to see that number come up. This dot right here shows Gloucester Township Public Schools as compared to K-8 districts in the county, and the line in the middle is the trend line. And so we were slightly below average a year ago, I would say, compared to county schools, and we're hoping that is going to narrow this year significantly, if not completely. Math, last year we were right on pace. And so hopefully even with our modest gains this year, we'll be able to at least maintain where we were last year, where our dot was pretty much right on that line and kind of what I would call quote unquote average, even though it's probably not the mathematical term for that, but it's one that I think most of us can understand. Science is scored a little bit differently. There are only 4 scoring ranges. And so that changes a little bit for how that's scored. And you can see across the state, they're not good. And the fact that 27% of fifth graders are proficient on the state's test in science. We were fairly significantly below that as we've been, but we did see an increase, which you'll see on a slide to come. And we did have a couple of our schools that were up there close to the state average. Eighth grade, again, big time challenge across the state. It dropped, so only 19% across the state. And for us last year, we took a slight step back and we're at 10% as our district average. And here's again showing some of that trend line where we did go up, we have gone up slightly. Eighth grade's kind of treaded water a little bit, but we have seen some increase in elementary, and I think in some part, at least in due to some of the work we've been doing, trying to improve the implementation of our programs and the renewal of our program that we had last year, and was a major focus of ours last year, and we did see an increase in student scores in fifth grade. And then again, this is the subgroup score, which again, you can see fairly consistent across, and we did see an increase there as well. Participation rates, I know this was a big thing early on. We used to have a lot more parents refusing to have their students tested. We basically had 18 total parents compared to 20. So we were again slightly down from the previous year of 20 in 2023. These are some reports that we look at. District evidence statements, what helps identify, the state gives us some guidelines for what exactly kids are expected to learn at each standard that's tested. And then we're able to get some overall scores, which we have, blanked out there, that basically show how we can see how we compare to state averages in that. And we can use that to kind of look at our curriculum, our program, and make adjustments. In our special education students, a small subset of students do the dynamic learning maps. And this is typically for about 1% of the student body. And basically each of theirs is unique to theirs. We had a total of 40 ELA students, 37 math, and 11 science students. And you can see that is about 1% of our students. And we did see an increase in performance as measured by the dynamic learning maps, where we had about 35 in ELA and 32 in math. And that was a fairly significant increase, particularly in ELA from our 2023 percentage. Our action plan kind of mentioned some of those things. We're just continuing to dig in, trying to look at individual performance, both by student, teacher, and then building, and identifying what we can do with that. We're continuing. Hopefully tonight you'll approve the high impact tutoring grant is something we're going to be doing, hopefully mostly grades 2 to 5 in Title I schools. We've done continue to try to improve our middle school intervention program. We're trying to increase the fidelity of our program across the board and the consistency with which it's applied. And then we're looking closely at our middle school science curriculum. We saw there, I think that's an area that needs some attention to identify. And I think a lot of that has to do with changes in standards and the lack of good programs that are out there. And more of those are coming online. There's several of them that are rated highly that we're going to be looking at. And of course, there's a number of resources for parents as well, that they're notified when we send out the notifications that state they can look up their student scores and track them over a period of years. That is what I have. So that was me talking as fast as I could. Sorry if it wasn't faster, but if you have any questions from the board, I'd be happy to answer those. Otherwise, I'll sit down.
Thank you, Mr. Joe.
Thank you, Mr. Trout.
All right, thank you.
From you now.
Mr. Marks.
Yes, sir.
Hi, I'd like to have a consent resolution for item 6.2A through 6.6 Q.
May I have a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
Second. Any questions?
I do. On the field trips, is this a typo or are both these groups going to two different times? 6.4. They're both the same groups. Sixth, seventh, and eighth, and they're both going on two separate trips. I was curious as to why.
I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay, would you find out for me?
The two, are you saying the same students?
Yeah, are they the same? It's
Same-
sixth, seventh, and eighth, sixth, seventh, and eighth.
Okay, I don't know the answer.
All right, well, if you could find out for me, please.
I will.
Any other questions?
I have a question here. Mr. Bildo, on 6.5 B and C, it notes that they are on file in the superintendent's office. Is it possible to get, like, the business office provides us with a drive with all those files that we're able to access? Like in this particular case here, these were provided a few weeks prior, not with this here, so it's hard to go back. I know it's just a couple weeks in time now, but if it were 3 months from now, I would know where to go find that again without really searching. So is it possible to get a drive for any of those files that are on file in the business superintendent's office?
Mr. Givens, I think we can look into that. I think we might be able to satisfy that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Fritz,
Yes.
Mrs. Galnick,
Yes.
Mr. Gibbons,
I'm going to abstain on 6.6 F and yes on the balance.
Mrs. Gilch,
Yes.
Ms. Gore,
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson,
Abstain on 6.6L and 6.6N. Yes on the balance.
N as in Nancy?
Yes.
Thank you.
oh, and is in Nancy. Mr. O'Donnell,
I will abstain on 6.6J 0619. Yes on the balance.
Ms. Stantino,
Abstain 6.6 F as in Frank, yes on the balance.
Mr. Marks,
Yes. Reported a business administrator?
yes, asking for consent agenda on items 7.1 through 7.7 D.
May I have a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions?
I have a question. 7.7 A, the ECAC, it says that there's a, this was in your drive, so this is how I found this, but question 40 on the application.
The preschool one.
Yes, the preschool. Says, please select membership representation in the district's ECAC below, and it has district staff, parents, families, community stakeholders, providers, and other community stakeholders. And then the following one, does it meet quarterly? And it says yes. I was just wondering who are those members and when do they actually meet and what was?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you, I don't have an answer for that. I don't know if Mr. Tro would have an answer, only because he supervises preschool, but I'm not really sure.
Yeah, that is one of the most diligent groups of people who meet. I know Marianne Johnson attends those fastidiously. She doesn't miss a one, but we do meet regularly. Sometimes it's hard to get parents because they're only in preschool for 1 or 2 years. But we usually have at least 1 or 2 parent reps that come to that. There are a number of teachers that are on that. Some of our people who spoke tonight are on that group. There are administrators that are on that group, and we do meet regularly and do a lot of great work there talking about the program and the progress that's made.
Okay, and can anybody join or what's the process to become part of that?
They invite, I'm not 100% sure how they end up selecting the parents. I know they reach out and offer and offer for them to attend, and it's difficult to get that, but usually Ms. Petrangelo, our supervisor for that, schedules those meetings and offers that to the administrative team as well at where preschool, in the buildings where preschool is, as well as the teachers, and a number of them sign up to do that.
Okay. And then I did have one other question, but I let somebody else go because I can't find it on my notes here.
Any other questions? Back on you, Keith.
You can save it for
I-
member comment or.
No, I had. So it was 7.6A. Again, was in the drive for the comprehensive maintenance plan. And I was just curious, it seemed by just looking at that, it's a lot of copy and paste from one.
It's very repetitive because most of the stuff in there, it happens every single year. If you look at what's in there. So yeah,
Yes,
it's
I
very
didn't,
repetitive.
I didn't see a lot of future, like plans and like there was, we're spending a lot of millions of dollars. The next item down, we're approving $2.3 million. And I don't see anything in the plan about maintaining or servicing.
Yeah, if you look at it, maintaining filters and stuff like that, that's in the plan. I think if you look in there, I think fire alarms were in there for the schools we replaced them in. It is very repetitive because it's normally the functions of the school, which is a maintenance item.
Right, so it's more of checking a box for the a state requirement.
It's
Is
not
that what
checking
it
a
is?
box. It's more than that because you have to spend like, I want to say it's like 0.004% of the building's value on maintenance every year or something like that. So there's actually a 10-year spreadsheet. If you saw that's the sheet, there's a sheet
Yeah.
that went along with it of how much we spent in every school for the last 10 years. So they're looking at that.
Yeah, I would just, because when we had buildings that we don't even own the property anymore, still on the list, and I was
Yeah.
like, I don't know if anybody even actually looked at this or just pulled it out and dusted
Well,
off and
It
put.
it gets sent to the county, so.
Oh, all right. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Fritz,
Yes.
Mrs. Galnick,
Yes.
Mr. Gibbons,
I am a no on the 7.6A, because I just feel like it should be a little more going over. And I'm also gonna vote no on check 134899. Check 135056, and yes to the balance.
thank you. Mrs. Gilch,
Yes.
Ms. Gore,
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson,
I'm going to abstain on check number 134910 and 134998. Yes on the balance.
thank you. Mrs. O'Donnell,
I am abstaining on check number 134921 and 134926. Yes on the balance.
thank you. Mrs. Dentino,
Yes.
Mr. Marks,
Yes. 8.0 old business, Mr. Bildo.
None at this time, Mr. Marks.
New business, Mr. Bildo.
I have two items for new business for the board. You wanted to compliment the student athletes both at Glen Landing. The girls soccer team won the South Jersey Championship. They won the final 1-0. They beat Voorhees on October 24th. The coaches are Donna Clark and Michelle Casey. And I received a text late on Friday from Mrs. Jones, principal of Glen Landing. The Glen Landing girls field hockey team won the South Jersey, Middle School Sports League field hockey championship. They won 3-2 against Beck Middle School. That is a Cherry Hill school. And Cherie Foster and Aaron Francis, I think, may be in the building. So ladies, you want to stand and be recognized? Thank you. So congratulations to the coaches and to those student athletes for, their accomplishment. And that is all for new business, sir.
Thank you. We'll now move on to public comments. Yes, sir. Good evening.
My name's Ira Eckstein. I live in Glen Oaks. I got a question. Back in December, there was a policy 7510 about having meet and greet meetings for Board of Education candidates in the schools, and it was voted down. I understand the advantage of having it, or at least what I think is a good idea was it gave residents the opportunity to see who the candidates were. Or if they get shot down, there had to be negatives. I haven't been able to find anything. Can somebody explain to me what the negatives were?
Mr. Bilodeau?
7510, I believe, is the use of school facilities. There is, several years ago, a proviso the board policy committee met and edited that policy. And they, essentially in the policy don't permit, any political party or political function to be election related to be conducted in our buildings and grounds. That was 4 years ago. I don't know the answer. That was, the policy committee of the board meets and they make recommendation to the full board. It's, has one reading in public and then a second reading in public. And I do know that you are right. It was 2020 when it was changed, but I don't know if I would really want to answer for the board.
It's a nonpartisan election, so how's it political?
Again, you're looking for me for an answer. I wasn't the one that put the policy together.
Mr. Longo?
So I think you can argue that anything that appears on a ballot is political, regardless of whether it's partisan political or just the election. That was the logic of the board at the time.
So it's okay for candidates that are running to have their campaigns run by a political organization?
That's a state law function.
What do you
That's
mean?
not the use of our facility. So in other words, the state law permits people to run and affiliate themselves with that, but the policy of the board prohibits anything election-wise from being held in the facilities of the Board of Education.
And all the surrounding areas either allow it or have something on record saying that it can be done. So I don't understand why Gloucester Township is different than everyone else.
That's just the decision the board made at the time and has not been changed since.
Thank you, sir.
All right,
Ms. Hendry.
Ms. Henry? She'll wake you up every morning.
Torture
Yeah.
Mary Ann.
Okay, I don't.
Hi, Dina Hendry again. With old business, the last meeting that we were at, when it was asked if there was a parent group for special education, do we have an answer on that? Because that should have been brought up in old business because it was still hanging, waiting.
Actually, Dr. Martin is in the room this evening, and we have had administrative meetings on CPAG. So there is certainly quite a bit of interaction between the Department of Special Services, its staff, and parents. And rather than try to answer that totally, Dr. Martin, do you want to provide that summation of what transpired for the 23-24 school year?
You get her, Mike.
Yeah.
Oh, Dr. Martin, can you come up by the mic, please?
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for asking the question. We do hold meetings. We don't have a formal committee. What we do is we survey our parents every year during annual review time and then also throughout the school year to see what they're interested in. Every year we bring in we host a large meeting. Historically, we've held a series of meetings, but we don't have the parent participation. So based on the results from the survey and what's going on or what's a hot topic, we bring in and have a formal meeting. Last year, we held a meeting at CW Lewis Middle School, and there were about 70 people in person and about another 10 or 20 that were virtual because we offer them both ways. We've paid a lot of money to have speakers come in, and we've not had the participation that we really would love to see. So I did partner this year with the Camden County Family Support Organization to try to help parents and help them understand the role between schools and other agencies, and to help regulate and support the student growth and family growth. We have a series of meetings this year. December 10th is the first, and then they're going to meet again on the 14th and also March 12th. And then we'll start up another series again next year. All the communication will go out and you will be invited. We make telephone calls, we send out flyers, we flood the internet, we do everything that we possibly can to get parents to come in. But for many years, we've offered intensive parent training with our BCBAs and our support staff, and the amount of time that we've had in the buildings themselves and the amount of staff and commitment to it. We've tried midday and evening. Last year, I think because we offered a $250 gift card to Target, that was the only reason why we were able to get the participation. And unfortunately, my budget doesn't allow for it, nor does the state. It was a donation. And I will not be offering it again, but I do encourage parents to come out and then participate in the survey process. Okay?
Thank you, Dr. Martin.
Okay, I'll be.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Hi, Dan Mom. My name is Kelly Porter. I live on Doral Drive in Valley Brook. I'm Blackwood, I'm sorry. I just wanted to come and follow up for two reasons. My husband and I moved our son Gregory to homeschooling, which will be 2 weeks ago tomorrow, following his inability to thrive at Loring Fleming. He couldn't maintain the classroom setting. While I'm not going to keep running to Trenton and wasting your time and mine, I'm going to pull my son from your school and pay for him to do a CELIS, a homeschool program in New Jersey, and I'm going to put him in a choice school, which I already applied for. I've applied to 6 actually, 2 charter and 4 choice. And I know that I can apply in any county in New Jersey. I went through the New Jersey Department of Education for my choice list. I actually did this prior to moving back to Gloucester Township, where my husband and I are from, because I wanted this setting for him so bad, Dan Long, as you know. I wanted this for him more than anything, Mr. Bilodeau. So while I'm gonna try and be a parent today and not emotional, I'm telling you, I'm just coming off a 12-hour work shift. I went home just to change and come here, and I'm losing my voice, but I wanted to ask you, I want to make sure that I'm doing everything proper for my son, because I don't want to get to November 25th and the choice deadline and then get something in the mail from your district, Mr. Long, or Parker and McKay, or anyone else in the game of this education and IEP thing. This is my child, and I don't want to prolong this. I want to do what's best for my son, as I continue to tell you since August. I try to be proactive. I don't want to come here in your YouTube video. I'd rather do this in an email, but I don't get replies.
Sure. So Mrs. Porter, we can't discuss in this forum. That said, I will make sure that administration, if there are any known issues with your choice applications on our end, we'll let you know right away.
My thing is this, right? I did, I'll get back up and get down. I know I can come up a few times, I think.
Yep.
So my thing is, I pulled Gregory 2 weeks ago when I went through a process with Dr. Martin regarding the math teacher not working. We were supposed to have a new math teacher that morning. It wasn't there, and the support wasn't there, and I wasn't gonna have my son go through that another day when I told him it was gonna be there. So I just said this, me and my husband already discussed it. It was it. Like, we were done. So I am always gonna be a mom and do what I feel is best. And I never experienced this before, because both of my girls graduated from PVI with honors, in full rides. Like, my daughter's gonna be a PA in a few months. So this is new to me, but I can tell you, I just need to make sure that I don't get past November 25th, Dan Long, and that I don't hear, Mrs. Porter, you're homeschooling your son. Even though this is his home district, he's not in our district technically. And next fall, when it goes live and he can start school in another district, because it's our choice, that this is
It
not
is.
the proper way to, is that right? You don't have to discuss Gregory with me. You can tell
Sure,
me
so
that's
in general, here is.
I'm sorry.
No, don't be. So here's what I can tell you on that. I can't, look, it is your right to homeschool. It's your right to go to choice schools, as you know. I'm not telling you anything that you don't know. That said, we can't control the application process of the other places. And I know you're not asking that question. That said, like I said a couple minutes ago.
He doesn't have to be live in your district. He can be a homeschooled student and be in your,
A-
living
and then
here
it's
and
choice.
choice out.
That's my understanding as well. But if there are any issues that we are aware, I will make sure that you're contacted so you have a chance to rectify it prior to the deadline. That's
Because
all.
I don't want him not to have faith. Like, this is temporary. He
Understood.
shouldn't be forced, and I'm just saying this with the best intention. If it's not working here, let us choice into a school that has an LLD setting, because I refuse the current IEP. Like, I'm just saying this with so much respect. It didn't work. We can't work it out, whatever it is.
Mhm.
I don't know where CPEG is. I didn't know that it was an option. Like, there's so many discrepancies. I just don't understand. Every district is different and everybody regulates them differently. I just am trying to do what's best for my son, and I want to come every week and help the other parents. I want to be like a liaison. I want to be on your STAPAG with FSO and in the county superintendent's office. And when my son gets where he's supposed to be, I want to come back and help them parents, because I know what it felt like not to know what was going to happen next for my kid who couldn't thrive in that gen ed setting of 26 because he thrived in 12.
All right, Ms.
Got it.
Porter, can I see if I have any other speakers? I'll bring it
I'll
back
bring it
up.
back up.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But I get your point and what I said stands.
Damn long I will show up in your office if my son is denied FAPE in September, because I promise you, this is more important to me as a mom than I will show up with him and his books and we will.
Thank you. I'll come back to you. Thank you. Any others?
Good evening. Dorothy Hope DeLeo, Union Valley Elementary. I'm going to start. What's been done to me is unethical. I have two letters to read into the record from Mr. Bilodeau. One is dated October the 7th. Subject, notice of termination. Dear Ms. Hope DeLeo, the basis of this correspondence is to notify you that the district will be terminating your employment effective 30 days from this letter, November 6, 2024. The Board of Education recently required that you undergo a medical evaluation to determine if you can perform the essential duties as outlined in your written job description. On September 12th, 2024, I notified you in accordance with Gloucester Township Board of Education policy number 4161 attached that you would be required to have both physical and psychological examinations. I also provided you direct notice of your right to appeal this determination, see attached, to the Board of Education, which you declined to do. The first examination was scheduled for September 23rd, 2024 at 9:00 a.m. before Dr. Sarah Waldorf, PhD. You did not show up for this appointment. In addition, you did not provide notice to anyone, which subsequently caused the district to incur an unnecessary expenditure. Moreover, on September 24th, 2024, I again notified you to contact my office by Friday, September 27th, 2024, or it would be determined that you have decided to refuse these examinations. See attached. In accordance with Gloucester Township Board of Education Policy 4161, your refusal to submit to examinations has resulted in my decision to terminate your employment effective November 6, 2024. Your health benefits will terminate on November 30th, 2024. However, you are eligible to continue benefits via COBRA. You will receive an application form from WEX for COBRA benefits, which is sent directly to your home address. On behalf of the Gloucester Township Board of Education, I want to thank you for your service to the district. Should you have any comments or questions, please contact my office. Respectfully, John Bilodeau, superintendent. It's only copied to Gina Rodriguez, president of the Gloucester Township Support Professionals Association. And of course, a copy went in my file. And there's things that are attached. I don't need to go through all that right now. All right, so that was dated. That was dated.
So Ms. Lloyd, before you begin the second letter, we're going to go through and then you can come back up.
I need to,
You can,
You-
I'll
we'll-
give
we'll
you a
get
second opportunity.
my 3 minutes are up.
Yes, but
up,
you
yep.
will come back to you.
Yes, Ms. Fretz.
I noticed on the agenda tonight that the goals were approved, so goal number 4 was approved. And I have a couple of questions in regard to that. Goal number 4 was on last year's goal setting agenda and also approved, but nothing ever happened with that particular goal. We've had discussions in the last goal setting meeting about that, and I know that Terry Lewis suggested that you put it on again for this year, and of course it is on there and it is approved. So now that it's approved, these are my questions. What is the plan going forward? Are you going to go ahead with forming a committee? Do you have a point person in the administration that's going to see that this goal gets followed this year because it didn't get followed last year? Will there be anyone on the board that's going to check on that possibly and get updates as to what's going to be implemented? And like, what are your ideas going forward? What do you plan on doing to make goal number 4 actually happen this year, since it didn't happen last year?
Well, that is a district goal. Good evening, Ms. Fitz. How you doing?
Mike.
Oh, good evening.
It said it was a board goal.
No, it's under district, but
This is district goal with it?
Mm-hmm. District goal number 4.
Yeah, so, I will tell you that that is something, since it's a district goal that the central administration, I and the central office administrators will, begin the process of examining what we do currently and then identifying additional areas that we might be able to bring, and then get that information of what opportunities. There are several opportunities that currently exist, but I do think if it's a goal, then we should expand upon that. And obviously, once we have a plan, we need to enunciate it and try to get feedback from parents on how they can, push in on more opportunities in our 11 schools.
And how long of a time period do you think that might take?
I'm not certain, but I imagine that we will have those meetings and have a plan set forth in the coming weeks.
Okay, great. And at a
Okay.
meeting, you would advise on that or give information about it?
I think we could update, and I think Dr. Martin spoke earlier, you can have a tremendous amount of planning. You can have a tremendous amount of advertisement. You can pay a lot of money, bring in professional speakers. You can have some of our largest rooms in the district reserved. You can have food and everything, and if people don't engage, it's difficult.
But isn't this goal, and I understand she's special ed, but this goal is for
I was
everybody.
using as an analogy.
Oh, okay.
But
That
that kind of
you
thing.
can do the greatest plan to have people, you want to have them push in to be part of their students' educational and just the well-being of their educational community, like how can they help? But if the parents and caregivers don't want to push in on the opportunities you afford, then what do we do?
Well,
Mm-hmm. That
My
is,
personal opinion would be you have to do the first step of trying to make that happen before you can decide.
and you know
So
what?
that's something you get the
board
wheels
just
moving with,
just
right?
approve those goals tonight. So we're
Yeah.
gonna start working on it this week.
I know, it's just.
Thank you,
to
Ms.
get
Fretz.
an idea as
Yeah,
to
yeah, it's just
what the plan
few
might
weeks.
be.
Yeah, I think we need to identify what we're doing and maybe re-advertise everything that would exist, add to it, and still put that out. And I'm not making an excuse, but I'm just saying in the coming weeks, okay?
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, we're gonna
Well,
see if there's any new
Daniel,
ones and then
Ms.
we'll bring
Landry,
it
I know
back.
you wanted to speak second time? No? Okay. Yeah, Ms. Porter? All right. You said no. Now you're going back.
Yeah.
I never.
That's all right.
No, 2 years ago, after Election Day, I had expressed that our schools were open during Election Day. And, our schools were used as polling sites. And we saw the cute children from elementary school going through the parking lot, you know, to go to recess into gym. It's Election Day again. And schools are open and Lily's a polling site.
Yes, it is.
So is there anything in plan to make sure that the kids still have recess and that they are not traipsing through where the public, you know, could be the public?
Remember what I said 2 years ago about what my thoughts were?
You thought to close them because your wife is a teacher.
Well, that's not why. I just think I
It's
just
a
don't like the idea. Exactly. I think in the,
Here's the thing, you know, now that we're talking about like 50, 710 or whatever, if our schools can't be held for forums
Forums,
to
right.
meet the candidates, then they shouldn't be flipping used for election sites. Simple as that, you know?
the county gets decided. We agree with you 100%. Remember when we said, Dina, that you were going to go to the county board of elections and we would support you and I would come with you.
Let me tell you, finding those meetings
Yeah.
is worse than trying to navigate our old website, you know? It's not as user friendly, you know, but here's the thing. As the board and as the district, we have the power, or should I say you have the power, to modify the calendar, right? And say, well, it's election day, let's close school, or let's have a teacher in service. Granted, our teachers don't belong in school either, but yet we haven't done that. I mean, you guys have the power to do these things, you know, and it is a safety concern because the kids go to recess and, you know, people are whizzing out and driving and it's not cool.
I'm with you.
So for the next election, whether it's local or presidential, I urge you guys to look at the calendar and say, oh, wait, it's election day, and just close the flipping schools. So thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mrs. Porter.
Ms. Porter?
Huh?
You told me this time.
Well, you raised your hand. We were good.
I just wanted to, Mr. Long, I know you don't do special education.
Not in this
You're-
district, no.
Right, but you're the Board of Ed's attorney, right?
Correct.
So you can help me. I went to the New Jersey Department of Ed's ombudsman, is that how you say it?
The ombudsman,
Yes,
yes.
and she
that
told me
oversees
this
it.
is my forum to do this, to ask if I did this properly, because I didn't receive a, proper response, meaning I've never homeschooled my son.
Mhm.
And I'm only doing this temporarily because I want his IEP fulfilled and I want him to choice out. I want him to be in a school that I can choose, that he can have a small classroom and he can thrive. And I already did that. I sent that to Mr. Bilodeau today for Deptford Township. And then I have 5 backups if that doesn't work. And 4 of them my cousins work in. So I'm really,
We'll put
listen,
you in there, yeah.
I will build a bridge. We'll bridge the gap, but I just need to make it work because I love Lauren Fleming, but I don't feel like it's the right fit for my baby.
Understood. We'll do our part, Mrs. Porter.
Can you follow up with me in writing?
Sure.
Like I did the right steps and then my son's choice will not be affected and stuff. I don't
Here's
want
the
to.
point. I can tell you when we do everything on our end. Like I said, I can only speak for our district. I can't speak for the others, but I will speak that everything was done correctly on our end. And I'll
So
do it
you
in writing.
had kids homeschool, like a parent homeschool, you know what I mean?
Homeschooling happens all the time.
Right, and then a parent choices out because
I don't recall a choice out situation from a homeschooling. I may be wrong, but off the top of my head, I don't recall that. I'm not aware of any ban on doing that. I think a choice is a right, just like homeschooling's your right. So.
I don't want to homeschool.
Oh, no, I know, but
I want him
the
to
point
be
is,
socially and
is right.
emotionally, I want him to interact, I want him to thrive. This is not, but me coming here and going back and forth
Yeah.
with your special education and this is not it.
I
But
get
I
you.
still, I spoke to the county superintendent, is it Carmen Rodriguez?
Carmen Rodriguez. is the
Yeah,
county
because,
superintendent.
the other one retired.
That was like. that was
Catherine
2
Thomas,
ago.
Dr. Thomas retired. So
Which is pretty awful.
Yeah, her office said that because Gregory is homeschooled, that we would still be included in everything in the district, not dances or things like that, meaning SAPEG is important to me. And I've never gotten any notification for that, although my son just returned to the district. We moved back prior to summer, so he just returned in the fall. But I want to be present. I want to help other parents. And it might not come out that way right now because I'm so frustrated for my son, but it will. It'll come together.
Yeah, I understand.
I want to be informed. So if my son's not in school and Dr. Martin's not emailing the parents if I'm homeschooling him, he still deserves that because he is an IEP and he's your district child, correct? That's the way I understand it from New Jersey Department of Education.
So
He's still
that's,
technically,
that's not a conversation for here, is my point. But the point is,
I don't want them to leave us out and me keep filing things.
I understand your point.
So include us, like, or just like, let's be a team,
Understood.
right? Is that, what do I do? Who do I go to?
We'll get in touch with you on where to go to.
Okay.
Can you send
Okay.
an email tomorrow, please?
Well, I don't know about tomorrow. Me,
You have.
yeah, give me a little bit of time.
Like,
The week-
I'm
I-
not
I
trying
know.
to.
Did I say you
I
were doing
wanted feedback.
fine? This
The
is a
woman that came
perfectly pleasant
to the last
conversation.
Meeting, you don't have parents. Can I just say this very quickly? I won't keep
Please,
you.
go.
Mr. Bilodeau, you don't need 200 parents to have CPEG or whatever you call it. I don't know, because in our last district, it was a very small district. There was 30. I grew up on Spring Lane Drive in Gloucester Township. We had the same 10 neighbors that were there most of their life and still live there. And when we got together, them same people made a change. When you have that in a special education and kids with special needs, you have a village. You don't need 200 or 50 or 60 or 70 parents. When you have 20 that care, you can make a change in your whole district. And you can have 10 in Mullen and 10 in Lewis and 10 in Loring Fleming. You don't need to bribe us. We'd bake things and come. Our kids would be happy. We have special needs kids. They would be happy to make things and come and be included. Inclusion is our thing. It's not to be like on the defense and fighting all the time. It's to feel like we're included and we're not put in environments that light our kids on fire. So if you think that you have to have these great big Lewis, you don't need a speaker. You can have the parent that was here at the last meeting who came asking about the group. I don't know who it was, but there was a woman that came. There was, I think, 2 or 3. And they would help that. I know what FSO is. I go to them for legal aid for my son. They give us free legal aid when you have IEP. But I'm just saying that to say, and I'm sure you know that, Dan Long, it's only certain days of the week, but I'm saying that to say, when your parents trust you, they will go so much further. They won't run from your district and cost you money and there'll be a village, like where you come from, it's a village. It's not, I don't need 400 people from where I came from on Spring Lane Drive. You need the same 30, the same 10. And then your kids and your family are safe and you're comfortable. It doesn't need to be like this. Maybe Dr. Martin's message, and I'm saying this with so much respect to the district, if you think you need 40, 50, 60 people, that's not it. You can start with 20 and then get the word around.
Ms.
Just
Porter,
like-
can I issue a favor?
Yeah.
Can you give Mr. Long 5 or 6 working days to email her on the?
I'll get to you
issue?
as soon as I can, okay? I'm not gonna set a time frame that I can't fit, but I'll be in touch.
And if you don't tell me about CPEG, somebody will invite me.
Okay.
All right.
All right, thank you,
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Any others?
Okay, Dorothy Hope DeLeo, Union Valley. I'm continuing. The first letter, as I read it into the record, dated October 7th. Subject notice of termination, and that was from Mr. Bilodeau. There was only one copy sent to Gina Rodriguez, the Gloucester Township Support Professionals Association. Now, we go on to the letter dated October 17th from Mr. Bilodeau. Dear Ms. Hope DeLeo, the purpose of this letter is to inform you pursuant to Rice versus Union County, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to read all that because the clock is ticking. That the Gloucester Township Board of Education, the board, will discuss a matter pertaining to your employment at the board's meeting scheduled for Monday, October 28, 2024 at 6 p.m. to be held at the Inn Mullen Middle School. Okay. Under the terms of the Open Public Meetings Act, a closed session will be held for any matter involving the employment, appointment, termination of employment, terms and conditions of employment, evaluation of the performance, promotion, or disciplining of any specific current or a prospective public officer or employee em- employed or appointed by the public body unless any of the individual employees or appointees whose rights could be adversely affected, request in writing that the matter be discussed at the public meeting. The discussion of the employment matter pertaining to you will be held in closed executive session unless you make a written request that the matter be discussed in the public portion of the meeting. Should you wish to have this discussion held in the public session, you must notify me in writing no later than noon, October 24th, 2024. John Bilodeau, Superintendent. Must I add, no one was copied on this letter. No one at all, not even a union rep. All right, so now we got through those two letters. Now we're going to go to my notes. What's been done to me is unethical. Mercado once said to me, I can fire you if I don't like the color of your eyes. And I'm going back. And of course, I couldn't do anything about that rude comment, inappropriate comment, because I was a widow with 2 children, and I could not afford to lose my job. Now we're.
Ms. Blair, we'll let you, if there's nobody else, we'll let you keep going.
Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. I'm terminated by Mr. Bilodeau as of November 6th. I've been employed for 37 years, contracted for 24 years, 7 months. My health benefits will terminate on November 30th. And you must be contracted for 25 years to get your health benefits for life. So now I'm short 7 months, thanks to you. 3 weeks after I came back from medical leave, Mercado started pulling me into the conference room at Union Valley for meetings. The first meeting, attended by myself, Mercado, Tracy Elwell, principal, and Gina Rodriguez, union rep, and Kim Curry, the assistant principal, was also present at the meeting. Mercado wanted me to sign off on about 4 to 5 pages of medical information and return those papers to him, authorizing the district doctors to speak to my doctors. Tracy Elwell brought these papers to me a little later in the day as I was working in the back of the library. Mind you, it's the same day as the meeting. She told me at that time that, in quotation marks, I have nothing to do with this, and walked out. I said nothing to her, but I did know what was going on. Bilodeau told me that I was not to go into Union Valley or to not even be in the parking lot at Union Valley. And I wanted to ask you, Mr. Bilodeau, is it all right if I walk in the woods behind Union Valley? Because I own it. When I called the Division of Pensions and Benefits in Trenton, after waiting for 2 hours and 20 minutes to get through, I told the woman that I was being terminated from Gloucester Township Public Schools, and she told me that it was going to take 4 to 6 months to get my pension. I told her that I couldn't wait that long, and I told her that I will go on unemployment. She said, you're going to have to go get another job. And I told her, no, I'm going on unemployment. You know, you can't make this stuff up. You really can't. And I'll tell you, 37 years, 24 years and 7 months in the district, I have never, ever worked with this poor of an administration. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. It's a shame that Mercado's not here. I know he didn't show his face because I'm here. You ought to be ashamed of yourself, and I know Mercado's listening at home. He ought to be ashamed of himself. You're too narcissist. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Any other comments? I see none. We're going to move on to board member comments.
Of course. So I was very excited to see Ariel Elementary tonight doing great work with their men of distinction. They were very dapper, and it's good to see those things coming through. As well as Mullen, just so you know, they do sell plants every spring and you can buy veggies. And we actually, my daughter raised a little squash from here this year and we ate it. So that was pretty awesome.
Good.
It was really good. Yeah, I baked it. It was awesome. And so I just want to clear something up on policy 7510 for the public. The wording, that wording was actually changed in July of 2019. I went back through all of my emails and my old agendas and found when that wording was changed. Just so you know, that's when it was done. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That is all.
Any other comments?
No, we're
Your
close.
section's closed. Any other board comments?
I'd like to congratulate the STAR students. Also, I attended the ceremony, or what would you call that, conference, you know, in Atlantic City, and I got a lot out of that this past week. Also on the election day thing, I also agree highly on that, and I agree that we also could make a day, you know, off for that. One thing that was my understanding, and I confirm that as well tonight, is even if we, as a district, say we do not want polling locations in our schools, the county can override that and say that we don't have another place to put them. Put them
Just
in
want to
there.
confirm that's correct.
So, thank you. So that is out of our control. However, the days on, you know, it is in our control, and I agree with you 100% on that. But thank you for coming out, and that's all.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I just want to say congratulations to everyone that were here this evening, the STAR students. I also attended the convention down in Atlantic City. I went to many sessions and I do have everything that I went to. A lot of them were interesting. There was a lot of information given out. Kind of made your brain a little crazy. But there was a lot of good things that does come out of the convention. There's a lot of networking, finding out what different people do in different situations. And thank you for coming out and have a good night.
Thank you. Any others? I'd like to take the time to thank everybody coming out tonight. Have a safe and enjoyable Halloween. May I have a motion to adjourn, please? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, guys. Good night. You like that? I got a couple in there.